Welcome to Homeschool is a Work of Heart. I'm Melissa Webb, and after years in the classroom and years homeschooling and supporting those in home education, and even more years creating curriculum for families like yours, I have learned this. Homeschooling isn't about perfection. It is about purpose. And this podcast is here to encourage you, to guide you, and to remind you that what you're doing truly matters. Are you ready to get started? Let's go. Well, hello, friends, and welcome back to another week of Homeschool is a Work of Heart. I have something very special for you today. Recently, I met another homeschooling mom who was previously a high school teacher and now also supports homeschooling families. She's a really remarkable person. Her name is Kami Wanous, and I can tell you a few things about her, but then I will let you listen to our conversation because things she had to say were monumental. For one, if you have a resistant learner, Kami gets that. We talk about the problem not being the child, but probably the system we are trying to copy in our homeschool educational space. We talk about how that kind of pressure that we can put on our kids will kill their curiosity versus letting them lead with curiosity and building lifelong learners. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Kami, and then I hope that you enjoy this entire episode. I also want you in the show notes to find the link that you'll hear me refer to, or you can even look her up online. She does a masterclass called Inspiring Lifelong Learners that I really want you to check out. Her company is called the Freedom Scholar. And as I mentioned, she is a veteran in so many ways as a public educator, as a homeschool mom to her son, as a homeschool mentor. She also is the creator of Raising Leaders Roadmap. I don't know if you've heard of that. I will link to it, but it guides parents to reset their kids' love of learning, as well as prepare them for future success. This woman is loved for being a fun, honest, transparent person out there helping families stop box checking and instead creating a culture in your home that is going to result in a child who loves to learn. And those kids, my friends, they turn into leaders who use their passions to make our world better. So with no further ado, allow me to introduce my new friend. Welcome to Homeschool is a Work of Heart. I am so excited that you are here to meet one of my newest friends, Kami, who is somebody who loves the homeschooling community as much as I do. And while we offer different things to the communities that we serve, I have to say, I think she outdoes me on this one, where I focus in on the writing. This woman is amazing because she is really building some amazing communities, and I'm really excited to have you with us. Kami, please introduce yourself.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Melissa. I'm so excited to be here. Man, homeschoolers are my jam. They are exactly what I love about education. And I am a former high school English teacher. I taught for 7 years before I had my son, who is now 17. I can't believe he's 17. It's crazy. We've been homeschooling ever since he was born. And if you're homeschooling, I'm going to tell you, you've been homeschooling since your kids were born, because you've been teaching them things the whole time. So you have already been homeschooling. Even if you're just listening and you're not ready to homeschool yet, you already have been. So know that you can be a little bit more confident because you've already been teaching your kid. We've been homeschooling for so long, and but when we started, it was not like that. It was not as amazing as it is now. I can tell you that much. My 17-year-old is incredible. He's going up for his black belt pre-test later on this week, and I cannot even tell you how stressful that is as a mama, but also how empowering and exciting it is to see him grow and thrive. But man, our journey didn't start that way. When we first started, I was a classroom teacher coming home, and even though I hated the box checking in school and I knew it didn't work, guess what I did with my son? I went out and got curriculum. Like everybody else, I got all this curriculum. I got a little Tykes desk. Do you remember the little Tykes desk? And it had a little flap that folded up, that had little cubbies underneath. Oh my gosh, it was so cute. And it had a little stool. And we're sitting there, and he's 6 years old. And we start doing all these workbooks, and he's like, okay, for about 15 minutes. And then he gets up and starts to walk away. And I was like, hey, buddy, wait, come back. There's more. And he's like, oh, okay, I didn't know. So he comes back. He does about 10 minutes more. And then he gets up and starts to walk away. Is anybody feeling me on this? And I'm like, buddy, wait, hold on. Look at this amazing math. This is so fun. This is so exciting. Let's come back. Come back. Let's do this. And he was like, okay. He didn't really want to, but he was a good boy and he liked to please. So he sat back down. He did about 10 more minutes. And then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, we have to keep going. We have to do all the things. We have to make sure we did math, because if we don't do math, we're going to fail at life. Like, we have to do all the things. And about 10 more minutes later, we do the math and he gets up and starts to walk away again, except now he's done, like done, done.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, we did 35 minutes. And I was thinking to myself, what? 35 minutes? How's he ever going to know all the things he needs to know in 35 minutes?
Yeah.
This is terrifying. And I'm like, okay, today's is what it is, but tomorrow was the same, except I could get less out of him. And the next day and the next day. And pretty soon we're anticipating the struggle because I'm
Yeah.
trying to get him back. I'm trying to do more. That's not enough. We have to do all the things. And within 2 weeks, we were both crying every day.
You know, it's funny, Cami, you share that story and oh my goodness, it just takes me back. And I know our listeners are doing the same thing. They're just like nodding in agreement. They're like, yes. And especially those of us as credentialed teachers who have been raised ourselves in a classroom setting, and then we bring our children home, and that's what we're imagining, some kind of a home classroom setting. So, yes, it resonates with me so strongly. So, yes, what did you do?
Yeah, so we were both crying every day. My poor husband comes home and he's like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "I don't know. It's not supposed to be like this. Like, I had envisioned something super grand, us having fun, us playing and joyful, laughing and learning together, and we were both crying every day." And so I stopped everything because I knew it wasn't his fault. He's never been to school. He's 6 years old. It's my fault. I did something wrong. And I was like, I don't know what it is, but I gotta stop. And I reread some stuff. I got some new information. Unfortunately, back then there were no homeschool mentors out here in California like that. I didn't have a lot of depth to pull from. I did realize, though, right away, pretty right away, a few days later, that I was doing exactly what I knew didn't work in school. I was
Yes.
just going through the motions. I was trying to do all the things of
Yes.
school instead of focusing on what I actually focused on when I was teaching in the classroom. I focused on trying to everything I could to spark that love of learning again in high
Yes.
schoolers, which was very hard, by the way. But in my
Yes.
6 year old, I was doing exactly what I knew didn't work. I had fallen back on the things of school instead of focusing on his love of learning. So
Yeah.
we started refocusing on his love of learning, gathering everything around. We stopped doing all the things that had bad mojo for us at the time. And we
Sure.
started focusing on rekindling that love of learning. Then we created routines around that. And then we created schedules around that. And then we created different activities to where we're both having fun. We had to bridge the gap of learning is actually fun.
I love that you just said that you both were having fun. That is key. And it's one of the things that I have said multiple times. If one or both or the whole family is not having fun, then something needs to change because learning should be fun. And I remember bringing Derek home from the public classroom to homeschool. And one of the things that he had said was that he had looked at his science book, he had flipped around the pages, and there was some chapter on like forest animals, and he saw a picture of a squirrel, and he said, I just want to know how many different kinds of squirrels there are. And I remember the freedom of being able to go, shall we study that? I think that would be really fun. Let's find out how many different kinds of squirrels there are. And that is exactly what I hear you saying, Kami, when you are focused on the lifelong love of learning, following what is interesting, what is piquing their curiosity. Because when you are doing that, for me, at least for me, and I'm going to guess it's probably true for you too, that right there made it more fun.
1000%. And an inspired person, I always say, is contagious, but
Yes.
an uninspired person is not very inspiring.
Yes.
And that's also contagious. So we have to think about what we're feeling and how we feel about learning. And that gets transferred to our kids, whether we know it or not.
Agreed. So then how do we reset this mindset? How do we help another homeschooling family who's, I can just picture her. She's just nodding along right now. She's like, yes, that sounds great. Where do I start? How do I do this? What advice would you give?
Yeah, this is a great question because we have to first start with what the root cause is. So, the root cause is what I call the educational should. All the things that you feel like it's coming from for me, it was myself and my training as a teacher, but also from my mom, who's a former retired teacher,
Mhm.
from society, from my husband, who is also, he's still a classroom teacher.
Mm.
And all this shouldness about, have you ever said to yourself, I don't want my kids to fall behind?
Oh,
We
sure.
should be doing more. What do kids learn what are they supposed to learn? Fourth grade, right?
Yes.
What if we don't do enough math? That's what
Yeah.
I thought, right? So all these things are the pressure, that shoulding that sits on our shoulders, and it makes us feel this pressure of the process. And then our kids start to feel it. This is what I call the homeschool breakdown trap. This is almost every parent I've ever worked with has some form of this, at least a
For
little
sure.
bit. And the pressure for us to do more, to perform more, to be more productive, to check more boxes. And our kids feel that pressure, and that pressure lowers their love of learning, which lowers their motivation, which then causes us to have, as a family, more frustration, more complaining, us nagging as parents. And then that causes us more pressure, more stress. And it just keeps going. And pretty soon, one of the families that I've worked with for the longest time, she started out with her daughter homeschooling, and they're a military family, and so they move around a lot, so they homeschool. And they were working until 8 o'clock at night every day
Oh
because they
my
would
gosh.
have to take breaks. She would take a break, and then they'd fight to return, and then to take another break, and then they'd fight to return. And they were exhausted.
Yeah.
So what we have to do to fix that is we have to get out of the box. We have to get out of the
Yeah.
educational should. We have to unlearn that educational should that sits on our shoulders. And man, when we do that, ooh, how do we do that? We have to bridge the gap between here's important learning on one side, important learning according to adult society, our transcript, all these things. And here, your kids might feel like, oh, this is important learning, and this only happens at school. It only happens in textbooks. It only happens in classes or workbooks. And maybe I'm good at it, maybe I'm not that good at it, but I don't see the relevance. It's pretty boring. And then the other side, here's butterflies and skateboarding and the things they like to learn about, squirrels. And they love it. It's interesting, it's fascinating, but it's not important according to adults in society. And so there's a gap. And the thing we have to do is we have to bridge that gap. We have to give them new learning expectations. As a family, we have to build new routines to be able to support that long term. And that gets us out of the box and we start having more joy. We start having more fun. And actually, the best part, Melissa, the best part about homeschooling is you get to build those connections, those relationships with your kids that you'd never get anywhere else.
That's 100% true as well. I can remember I was homeschooling Adam at the time. It was the middle school years. We actually were in kind of a hybrid type of program, but I had friends who had, just moved their kids over to the neighborhood brick and mortar middle school, had 2,000 students enrolled there, and a lot of great teachers teach at those schools. I never want to act as if we are better than thou or that those people aren't doing it right. You have to do what works for you, and I think we all agree with that. But here's one thing I noted. My friend was saying that when her daughter got in the car after being gone for 7 hours a day, and the mother would say, "So tell me about your day," or "How did things go?" or "Did you learn anything interesting?" Her daughter would just clam up. She'd be like, "Mom, I'm just tired. It's been a long day. I don't want to talk about it." And she said it was at the start of the middle school years, which are critical years. It was then that she felt less connected to her daughter because her
Hmm.
daughter would be tired. She didn't want to talk. And so then they'd have a couple hours at home. Then she'd need to go do her homework. And they grew apart during those years versus I was having the opposite experience because I was with my son so frequently, 3 days a week at home, 2 days he was on a campus. And we did so many field trips together. We had friends over for study days. It was a family bond, like just like you said. And I do think that's another really critical part. I would also say the other thing that you and I share in common is we have an opportunity to take lifelong learners and make them into leaders. When you and I first met, we had that conversation and you made a comment, which I want you to expand on. But I had said to you, I'm like, oh my goodness, Kami, that's amazing. Our slogan is wow, writers turning today's learners into tomorrow's leaders, one sentence at a time, which I know that you are also on board with. Yes?
100,000%. And that's what I love about what you do too, because you are teaching kids how to think through writing. And that's important for them to become leaders, them to become critical thinkers, which is what we all want for our kids. And so, one of the things that we have to do is we have to build lifelong learners first. It's very important. So we have a culture where we can support love of learning. And then we have, on top of that, when we have that consistently for a long time, we can build lifelong learners. And only lifelong learners can actually become true leaders. Have you ever met somebody who's a positional leader that didn't actually learn things new, wasn't open minded? That's somebody who's not a true leader. But a true leader is somebody who's always learning, always seeking new information, always getting better, and hungry for more. And that is what we want for our kids. Our kids want to be leaders, they want to.
They
They
do.
want to. They see our world and they're like, what the heck, guys, you messed it up. And they want to fix it. Our teens want to do that, but they just need to be given the opportunity and the skills to be able to learn what they need to learn. And what I mean by that, the only thing they need to learn, for the most part, of course, there are some things, but that we want to prepare them with. But the really big thing they need to learn is how to love learning and
Yeah.
how to be a confident learner. When we do that, that's all I try to do in the high school. That's all I try to do. I knew that most kids came in and they hated reading. I said, if you can find one book that you like to read, I don't care what it's about.
Yeah.
You might read something someday that will help you, change you, affect your family, change other people, make a difference.
I love it. This is brilliant. And everything you're saying ties into what you just previously said about the bridge. Remember, we just talked about there are these two sides, and I can just visualize like these two cliffs with this goalie in between the two. And on the one side, we have all of those, should things we need to do. There are some math skills we should learn. There are some reading skills we're going to need to practice, and comprehension skills, et cetera, et cetera. And then on the other side, all the things they want to do, whether that's skateboarding, learning about butterflies, learning about squirrels, right? And that bridge piece being so important, this comes right back to that, Cami, because aren't we allowing our children to become the leaders when we say what interests you? What is something you want to delve into deeper? And we help them make that bridge to, what? We can tie this into writing. We can tie this into math. We can tie this into science. That's our job as the homeschool parent, is to let them lead in such a way that their interests are high. And then our job is to connect it to the other pieces that, yes, in society, in the real world, absolutely, there is that piece. But that is where I feel the magic truly happens. And I just know those listening right now, so many of them are like, yes, and I would love a community of like-minded homeschooling families that are wanting this and are searching for this. And again, I'm just so grateful for the timing of us meeting when we did, Cami, because all of you are going to be so happy to hear that something that Cami does from the kindness of her heart is she does these master classes for homeschooling families. And in April, there's one coming up this month. It's called Inspiring Lifelong Learners, I believe. Yes. Tell us about
Yes,
that. This
yes.
I'm so excited about.
Yeah, this is perfect timing for us because I do the Inspiring Lifelong Learners Masterclass on April 16th. It's 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern. You can sign up for free, and I'm going to be walking you through the thinking shifts that educational should and how to get out of that box. And we're also going to talk about curriculum because I know, right, Melissa, we're thinking, oh, we're talking about all this interest learning, but what about the things they have to learn about? I get it. Yes. When you have love of learning that's super high, your kids are open and they will be willing to be challenged in other areas that they may not be interested in. But that has to happen for a long period of time. You
Yes.
have to have a lifelong learner first. If you try to do that when love of learning is low, you're going to lower it even further and you're going to get frustration. So we're going to talk about how to make that happen. And we're also going to talk about something really important, which is, who are you trying to raise? That's the
Good.
most important question, isn't it? That
Yes.
nobody asks. Nobody asks you, what is the person that you're trying to raise, the adult? Because guess what? We're not raising kids, we're raising adults. We have to think about what that product, that end product is going to be. And when that we're putting all our effort and all our energy and all our heart and soul into. Because when we know that, then we can go back and we can make sure everything lines up and gets us there. Otherwise, it's like driving around in the car with no destination in the GPS and hoping you're going to get somewhere.
Yeah, it's going to take you a lot longer and you're going to
Right.
experience a lot more frustration going that route.
Exactly. And Melissa has the link for you to register for that. It is coming up in just 9 days from now. So in April 16th. And make sure that you show up live. It's very important because the difference between going to something live and just watching a replay means the difference between you applying and just thinking that was something that was interesting.
Yeah, I agree with that. In fact, I don't know if you ever listened to Dr. Andrew Huberman. He has a podcast. He's a Stanford professor. He's amazing. I love his podcast. And he was just talking to another doctor, gentleman, who their whole conversation was about the importance of community.
Mm-hmm.
And community is like this. It's you and I looking at each other, even if it's through a camera lens, it's still a real community. When we watch a recording, that's a very solo experience, right? Listening to this podcast, you may feel like there's a connection because you're hearing the two voices talking, and that's great. But really getting to be with other people in your same situation, I cannot emphasize that enough. Showing up live makes all the difference. And we need to get back to that, whether that's a virtual live, an in-person live, all of that really critical, super duper important. I will definitely link that. I'm also going to link to your podcast. Tell us a little bit about the podcast that you do so they can kind of know what to expect over there as well.
Yeah, so it's Homeschool Success with Kami Wanous, and I do a weekly podcast. I do solo episodes and guests as well. Melissa's going to be on it in the future here. We've already scheduled that, which I'm so excited about. But it is really about how to get that culture going, how to reinstate that love of learning, and then keep it high so that we can raise lifelong learners.
That's fantastic. And I can tell you, just looking at the enormous number of very interesting people that she has interviewed, I think you will all glean a great deal from those conversations. And I'm honored that I will have the opportunity as well in a month or so to talk with you on your podcast. This has been amazing. And I just have no doubt several people right now are like, let me get to those show notes. I want to click on that link. This is a community for you, to inspire you, to encourage you. The kindest thing you can do for yourself, parents, is to make sure that you are getting your cup filled. Don't always think that you're supposed to just be taking care of someone else. We have to take care of ourselves. When we show up with a full cup, we're able to have the energy and the right attitude, positive outlooks, all the things we need. This has been wonderful. Kami, is there anything else you would like to share with us before I let you go?
Yeah, so I guess the only thing is that to a reminder that inspired, just like Melissa just said here, an inspired person, an inspired parent is very contagious. So think about what you can get excited about. What can you learn about that would make you, ooh, guys, guess what I learned today, kind of thing.
I love that. That is a great thought to head out on. So, everybody, check out that link. We will look forward to the future connections we make. Right on.
Thanks for having me.
And that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. And hey, if you are feeling stretched thin and you would love some support with teaching writing, I offer programs designed to make that part of homeschooling easier and more enjoyable for both you and your child. I also have free resources on my website, so please be sure to check those things out and subscribe to the podcast. You do not have to do this alone. Right on.